Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Melissa Siegel. I'm a professor of migration studies, and this is a channel about all things migration. And today we're going to continue with our country case study series looking at Azerbaijan. So in our country case study series, we always look at the history of migration, the current migration situation, as well as the migration policy and governance. And today I'm going to continue with the second video in the series looking at the migration governance situation in the country. And I'm going to start off looking at the institutional framework for migration and migration management in the country. So let's start off with the President of the Republic of Azerbaijan, who participates in shaping migration policy by signing laws, making legislative initiatives, and managing foreign relations. The president also has superior power to grant citizenship of the Republic of Azerbaijan and political asylum according to the constitution. The president gives instructions on cabinet of ministers and later forwards them to the relevant ministries. So while the presidential administration controls implementation of presidential tasks by all of the government institutions. The leading role in migration management, though, in Azerbaijan belongs to the State Migration Service, or SMS. And that was established in March 19th of 2007. The State Migration Service is a central executive body with the law enforcement status that implements the state policy in the migration sphere and manages as well as regulates migration processes in accordance with the national legislation of the Republic of Azerbaijan. So there are several different kinds of things that they do, including registration of foreigners and stateless persons, extensions of residence permits, and issuance of permanent residency, etc. In 2015, the Public Council under the State Migration Service, consisting of NGOs acting in the field of migration, was established. The purpose of the council is to strengthen the public control over state entities and to increase civic participation in the policymaking process while exchanging knowledge and practices as well as delivering migration-related issues to the society and to the government. In 2018, an advisory board under the State Migration Service bringing together NGOs as well as representatives of physical and jurisdictional persons carrying out entrepreneurship activities in Azerbaijan who employ foreign labor source was established. Regular meetings are conducted with representatives of the advisory board for delivering necessary information about work permits to employers, assessing the impact of migration legislation to the entrepreneurs, and addressing challenges encountered by employers. So there's also a board of appeal that was established for the provision of transparency and flexibility in the field of processing complaints of physical and legal persons engaged in entrepreneurial activities, protection of the rights and legal protection of interests of people in this field. The board consists of 7 persons and are authorized employees of structural units of the service. There is also the Migration Volunteer Public Union, and it's one of the non-governmental organizations operating in the field of youth of the Republic of Azerbaijan. And on June 28th of 2019, the union was formed. The main direction of the organization is to strengthen relations with non-governmental organizations and to contribute to Azerbaijan's youth policy. But migration volunteers actively participate in social programs aiming to assist foreigners, stateless persons, refugees, and readmitted people in Azerbaijan. So let's go on and also understand better what's going on under the State Migration Service, because there are a number of different important aspects that we should look at when looking at the migration governance in the country. Recently, several services provided by the State Migration Service have been partly outsourced to the ASAN Service centers. And these service centers were implemented to provide a more transparent and efficient service through kind of the one-stop shop principle. So through the ASAN service, it is a one-stop shop for kind of all migration needs. Since 2019, the applications of foreigners and stateless persons on registration upon place of stay, the extension of temporary stay permit, obtaining permits for temporary and permanent residence, as well as work permits, in Azerbaijan are only received actually in these ASEAN Service centers. However, this does not necessarily mean the reduction of competencies of the State Migration Service, since these applications are still received by the employees of the SMS at the ASEAN Service centers. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs is also responsible for visa policy, including the issuance of entry and transit visas, registration and extension of temporary stay of the representatives of diplomatic missions, consulates of foreign countries and international organizations in Azerbaijan, as well as their family members. The ministry also protects the rights and interests of the Republic of Azerbaijan, its citizens and legal entities in foreign countries through its diplomatic representations in these foreign countries. The Ministry of Labor and Social Protection of Population is the central executive body that implements state policy regarding national labor market, labor relations, and social protection of the population. The ministry participates in the formulation and implementation of the unified state policy in the area of labor migration, along with carrying out control over ensuring rights of labor migrants and employers. The Department for Employment Policy and Demography particularly deals with labor migration issues and assists the state employment services, which also function within the ministry. Actually, the minister of this entity also chairs the Commission on the Establishment of Labor Quotas. The Ministry of Internal Affairs also has an important role, as it's responsible for issuing identity documents to stateless persons and those who are granted citizenship, jointly with the State Migration Service, as well as implementing measures against human trafficking, transnational organized crime, and smuggling. And with the establishment of the State Migration Service in 2007 and the introduction of the one-stop shop principle in 2009, the registration of foreigners and stateless persons was also entrusted to the State Migration Service in 2013. Now let's look at the national legislative framework. So migration policy in Azerbaijan is implemented in line with state programs, laws, and normative acts. The State Migration Management Policy concept was adopted in 2004 to formulate a policy on assessing and managing the current situation in the field of migration. This was one of the initial strategic documents in the field of migration, and the concept defined specific tasks in the field of foreign policy, legislation, information exchange, as well as organizational measures to manage internal and external migration flows in Azerbaijan. The second important document was the State Migration Program between 2006 and 2008, which sent out main directions of the migration policy, such as improving legislation forecasting, migration processes, expanding cooperation with the migration authorities of foreign countries and international organizations, and more. There is also the entry and exit registration interagency automated information and search system, which was brought into force in 2008. And in short, it's called the IAMAS. And the IAMAS is a special state information resource. Almost all government entities are integrated into this system, as well as provide and obtain information from the system within their competencies. The State Migration Service, for instance, includes all information about foreigners, stateless persons in the territory, such as persons infringing on requirements of national legislation, those registered upon place of stay, temporary or permanent residence in the country, and much more. With the application of the one-stop shop principle in the management of the migration processes in Azerbaijan, Azerbaijan started to regulate migration processes through a more flexible and operational mechanism, as well as an increased transparency and efficiency in migration management. And based on this principle, the State Migration Service implements the competencies of a unified state authority. Of course, this was translated into these ASAN centers that are one-stop shops nowadays. The Unified Migration Information System was established, and its integration to the Entry and Exit and Registration Interagency Automated Information and Search System and the State Registry of Population of the Republic of Azerbaijan basically was ensured in this regard. So these systems and their interaction enabled the government authorities to record data on foreigners and stateless persons residing and temporarily staying in the Republic of Azerbaijan. It's able to obtain necessary information regarding migration with their competence, to automate migration-related documentation and analysis, and to advance electronic services. The UMIS, or which is short for the United Migration Information Service, also created favorable conditions for taking appropriate measures against illegal migration and ensuring security in the country. The National Action Program in the field of increasing efficiency and protection of human rights and freedoms in the Republic of Azerbaijan was also brought into force in 2011. And it concentrates on extending contractual legal frameworks for improving legal status of Azerbaijani citizens abroad, aligning detention rules with international standards, the preparation of trainers for teaching and increasing legal knowledge of different population groups, including refugees and IDPs, as well as the implementation of joint projects with the UN and other international organizations. In 2012, migration issues were also highlighted in the Azerbaijan 2020 Look into the Future development concept. The concept particularly focuses on strengthening international cooperation for the effective regulation of migration processes. Now, let's look at this Unified Migration Information System, or the UMIS. It was established to register foreigners and stateless persons, provide necessary information to state bodies involved, the optimization of documentation, inspection, and a survey and analysis, basically to be able to improve many of the e-services. And you can see here all of the things that are brought into this system, including, electronic documentation management, e-services, citizenship issues, biometric systems, and much more. So if we come back to the ASEAN visa system, so ASEAN actually means, ASAN actually means easy in Azerbaijani. The ASAN visa system for the issuance of electronic visas was established in 2017 for facilitating visa issuance processes for foreigners and stateless persons visiting Azerbaijan. It also helped to create a more efficient and transparent e-visa system with the application of modern information technologies. So 95 countries actually can use the system and get an e-visa, and there are just 3 steps that are needed here. The website also functions in 9 languages, and it allows people to be able to obtain a visa very quickly, sometimes even within hours. So I hope that gave you a very quick understanding of the current migration governance in Azerbaijan. In a second video, we'll look specifically at key policies within Azerbaijan with regard to migration. Again, if you're interested in the rest of the series, you can also check that out here. I'll make sure to link them in the description below. And of course, if you're interested in other country case studies or other information about migration, please do make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my videos that I upload every week. And I do hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.